The Sunrise Movement. Thank you. We are a youth-led national movement to stop climate change and create millions of good jobs in the process. Our national demands are as follows. 1, a Green New Deal. 2, respect of indigenous lands. 3, environmental justice. 4, protection of our biodiversity. And 5, implementation of sustainable agriculture. This walkout started 1 year ago with a 16-year-old Swedish girl walking out of her classes to demand climate action. Every Friday since then, she has walked out. Every Friday since then, more and more students across the world have joined her, demanding one thing: bold climate action. Today, millions of youth around the world join us as we join them. We are not alone in demanding climate action. My name is Nate Roberts. I'm a fourth-year political science major and sustainability minor. When I was younger, my dad would say to me and my siblings, I was always worried about having you, worried about the future you would grow up in. He was talking about climate change. He was talking about how devastating it could be. That quote inspired my climate activism. 2 years ago, I ran a campaign to commit our campus to 100% renewable energy. We collected 3,500 petitions, half of all undergraduates on this campus. We collected 90 faculty endorsements, a quarter of all faculty, and we passed comprehensive resolutions through the Student Government Association, the Graduate Student Senate, and the Faculty Senate, asking that we commit to 100% renewable energy by 2050, because we had to. At first, the administration seemed on board, ready to sign the commitment, and to be fair, the chancellor and the administration responded. They wrote the student activists a letter. They said they were unwilling to sign that commitment because they did not believe that future chancellors would be able to uphold it. However, our campus makes long-term commitments all of the time. The new dorms on campus are a 20-year commitment, a public-private partnership. The cogeneration plant, which provides natural gas energy on campus, is a 20 to 30-year commitment. Secondly, they wrote, it is unlikely that we will move away from that cogeneration plant because of financial reasons. However, the campus will have a decision before the loan elapses to replace key parts which would extend our reliance on natural gas for years after we are done paying for it. To avoid an unnecessary extension that would pollute our world and keep us reliant on fossil fuels, we have to start planning now. Thirdly, they wrote that they want student help in talking to Eversource, the local utility, to encourage them to modernize the local grid. I want to first state that we are always willing to work with administrators to save the future of the students on campus. I, however, am unsure of where students play a role in talking to local utilities. What I do know is that the administration, without students' help, has partnered with other local utilities to build solar farms in Dartmouth and Westport, deals that have garnered a net $700,000 worth for the university. We know renewable energies work and can save us money. That letter was written last year. Since then, we've learned how dire our situation is. The UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has given us until 2030 to drastically reduce our carbon emissions. We do not have time to not act. A growing consensus indicates to do just that, reduce our carbon emissions drastically. We have to make bold decisions now. Otherwise, we face a harrowing picture. The UN estimates that by 2050, the world will see 200 million refugees. That is 3 times more than the current refugees in the world. What we consider a refugee crisis is not even close to how bad it can be if we do not act now. We face a world where hurricanes hit stronger, last longer, and come more often. Puerto Rico, Houston, New Orleans, and the Bahamas, those scenarios will only become worse. Cities like Boston will be underwater. But that doesn't have to be the picture if we act now. To the administration and the university system, we do not want a commitment to 100% renewable energy. We need a commitment. We cannot ask anymore. We must demand a commitment to 100% renewable energy. A commitment to 100% renewables or zero carbon emissions is just that, but it's also more than that. It's a frame of reference for every decision that our administration can make regarding capital and energy planning, and even academic, to teach the future generation and our generation about the issues they face related to the climate crisis and to climate justice. That framing means building new buildings electrified and net carbon zero, and renovating current buildings to stretch code. If we do not begin framing the decisions from this standpoint, we will never achieve the drastic carbon reductions the UN has warned us we must meet. Further, it means acting now to form a task force of a diverse group of students, faculty, and administrators to steer environmental decisions, starting with the Energy Master Plan, a contract that will be decided on this semester. It means creating a culture of sustainability within our senior staff through sustainability-specific training, all the while including a new level of transparency, starting with public deadlines. First, for a plan to commit our university to 100%, second, for the steps along the way. A signed commitment to 100% is a commitment to the students that the Chancellor and his administration will fight publicly and privately to convince our state legislature and the university president to make those same commitments. It's a commitment to us, the students, the community on campus, that his desire to collaborate with students is serious. And there is precedence. Even within the university system, UMass Amherst has set a goal and created a task force to look at zero carbon emissions by 2030. That is the bold, decisive action we need. As President Kennedy said, we choose to do these things not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Academic institutions are supposed to lead the world in progress. If we cannot meet the greatest existential threat in the history of humankind, then we have failed the goal we seek to inhibit. Administration, or Chancellor Johnson in August of 2019 said to our generation and the students here on campus that we would be the generation to stop global warming. He said that this is our time. It is our time. It's our very limited time. And here we are, trying to stop the climate crisis. We are demanding action, not from hostility, but from desperation. This is our futures. If we do not act now, the climate crisis will affect us. We will be the first generation to feel the harshest effects. For that reason, we are hoping that you, Chancellor Johnson, and key administrators will meet with us within the next 2 weeks by Friday, October 4th, to discuss all that has been said in this speech. To the students here, first, thank you. You are standing up for our future, for the kids that we might have and the kids that they might have too, the rest of your lives. Second, it is our time, as Chancellor Johnson said. I said our generation will be the first to feel the worst effects of climate change. Today will not stop the climate crisis, but is the first step in showing us all the power we hold to demand action. It does not end today. We must continue to demonstrate where and when possible. We must continue to have our voices heard. If you want to continue to use the power you hold, that we hold together, please sign up with one of our volunteers who have a clipboard. If you have a clipboard, please raise your clipboard. This does not end today. Sign up. We'll be meeting this upcoming Monday at the Woodland Commons at 4:30 p.m. to discuss next steps, to get this commitment, to get a commitment from our state, the state of Massachusetts. Follow our Instagram at Sunrise UMass D for updates and to see the demands that I have gone over today. They will be public. And please register to vote at the SGA table behind all of you. We are the largest voting bloc now. We have the power. If we all vote, we can elect politicians who hold our best interests at hand, who know how serious the climate crisis is. And I want to leave on one thought. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. If we want to achieve 100% renewable energy or zero carbon emissions, the best time to plan is today, not in 20 years. Thank you.
Can we give it up again for Nate, please? Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Elena. Some of you may know me as Eileen. I'm the Vice President of the Student Government Association, as well as Vice President of Chi Upsilon Sigma National Latin Sorority Incorporated. I just want to thank you all for coming out, and honestly, can we give yourselves a round of applause just for making it here? Thank you. Sorry, little people problems. Climate change and sustainability are issues that serve one another. And just as they go hand in hand to create change, so do all of you. You are the hope and the change and the courage for future generations, and I hope you all recognize how powerful you each are by standing here today. Please continue to show solidarity on this issue, because if you don't, no one will. And please continue to speak up and stand out. I know there may or may not be a few skeptics who stand between you today, but I want to give you this, a quote by Neil Degrasse Tyson, an Afro-American astrophysicist and science communicator. He said, "If we have the power to turn another planet into Earth, then we have the power to turn Earth back into Earth." If you will not fight this issue for you, do it for those who will come after you, whether it be your children, your grandchildren, your friends' children, your nieces, your nephews, or even each other. Now is the time. Please be the change. Thank you.
A little bit taller than Elena after I dressed it. But that was fantastic. I'm so lucky to work with you. I am Kate. I know some of you guys know me. I'm the president of the Student Government Association. I love the little waves. Thank you. That was actually a rugby teammate. You can tell we don't yell like that in SGA. I'm also a history student, and as a history student and college politician, I have to talk about the American Revolution. What I'm gonna say, it was not July 4th. It's not the signing of the Declaration that matters. It is the protest that happened in the streets of Boston. It is people every day, people of color, women, people involved were the ones that protested. We're the reason we had revolution. It comes from our state. So I argue today, it's not our administration that's gonna make these changes today. It's us. We are boycotting goods today that are unsustainable. We're here today protesting. And most importantly, your vote is a protest. Writers should have voted that table behind us and keep making these changes. It's wonderful to be out here today. It's a beautiful day. That's not enough. We carry on every single day because one day, maybe that will be us in those offices. But right now, we're here and we can make these changes today. Nate said quite well, we don't have the 20 years to do it, which means we don't have the chance to get in those offices. We do it today. Thank you.
Hello, my name is James Melon. I'm an English major. I'd like to thank all of you here today for being on the right side of the strike and being out here. We gather here alongside millions of other young people around the world in solidarity with each other and our planet. And every other speaker here is going to talk about the looming existential threat that is climate change. But I would like to take a moment to talk about the method that we are going about changing it. We're striking, we're walking out. One of our national sunrise demands is a Green New Deal. And that's as much a labor proposition as it is a climate proposition. So we aren't employees of the university. What we're doing here today is as much labor history as it is climate history. So I'd like to take a moment to talk about the labor movement's greatest victory, the 8-hour workday. Before the first major victory of the 8-hour workday came to be, there was another major victory for the 10-hour workday. The strikes for the 10-hour workday started in 1791, and in 1835, the first major victory came when workers in Philadelphia went on the first general strike in this nation's history. Over 20,000 coal miners, leather dressers, printers, carpenters, bricklayers, masons, house painters, bakers, and city employees all left their workplaces and stood in solidarity for a 10-hour workday, just like we are doing right now for the planet. The strike ended with a complete victory for the workers. However, things were not always so easy in the fight for an 8-hour workday. Anyone familiar with the history of the workers' movement will immediately recognize the date, May 1st, 1886. The day of the workers' strike that would later become the Haymarket Massacre, when between 30,000 and 500,000 workers protested throughout the United States for an 8-hour workday without a cut to our pay. The movement centered in Chicago, where between 30,000 and 40,000 workers had gone on strike, and another 30 to 40,000 people were on the street protesting in solidarity with the workers. Their strikes remained completely nonviolent until the end of May 3rd, when the police reacted to a confrontation between the strikers and strikebreakers by firing into the crowd and shooting 2 people. Outraged by the violence, the strike leaders called for a rally on May 4th, and by the end of the day, 7 officers and at least 4 workers had died in the struggle for an 8-hour workday. These people did not give their lives in vain. Across the world, May 1st is celebrated as International Workers' Day, and every country in the Western Hemisphere besides the United States and Canada celebrate the day as Labor Day. And in 1937, the fight for an 8-hour workday was officially won when Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed the New Deal, which made the 40-hour workweek a national standard. So the next time you make time and a half for the 34th hour of your work week, remember the reason your boss pays you overtime is because workers gave their lives for a fair work week. In many ways, the histories that I'm sharing with you now are hidden from the American public. We don't learn about labor movements in school. We don't hear old labor slogans like 8 hours to work, 8 hours to sleep, 8 hours to do what we will. We don't celebrate Labor Day in May. We don't learn about the literal blood that was shed for the things we take for granted. But we need this history now more than ever. The names of the corporations may have changed, and the people who own them may have changed, but the 1% that imposed a 12-hour workday on our ancestors in 1719 are the same 1% that control the 100 companies that are responsible for 70% of global emissions in 2019. We aren't going to achieve net zero global emissions by riding our bike to work, or by recycling, or by going vegan. There is no individual action that is going to stop the people who are responsible for climate change. We have to come here together in solidarity with one another and make our planet change together. If you would like to learn more about the Sunrise Movement or about labor history, I'm going to be at the voting table with posters and sign-in sheets. Also registered to vote. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I want to thank you for taking the time and the courage to be here today. Fighting for change is never easy. My name is Elaine Sanchez. I'm a senior here, business student. I'm the current president of House of Deliberations and a student rep for the Black History Four Seasons Council. Thank you. I'm here today because I want to talk to you all about environmental justice. My goal is to bring to light the environmental issues that affect communities of color and how we can remove the barriers that hinder us. I know you may be thinking, how can we talk about environmental injustice and yet overlook the racial injustices that are still happening in our country today? I'm here to tell you that racial injustice is more than police brutality and more than the criminal justice system. It goes as deep as the air we breathe and the water we drink. It goes deeper than poverty. Dr. Robert Bullard, one of the leading environmental experts, said, "Racism trumps class." Even middle-income African-American households are more likely to live in polluted neighborhoods. There are policies and practices that discriminate against communities of color. This is environmental racism at its finest. Ask yourself, why is it that Black and Hispanic children have the highest rates of asthma? Or, why is it that more than half of the people that live near hazardous waste are people of color? Did you know that the government changed its original path for the Dakota Access Pipeline because it was at risk of polluting a white area? Tell me, why is it that rich white neighborhoods update their water pipes but not places like Flint, Michigan? This fight has been going on since the 1980s. Environmental racism leads to environmental genocide. We can no longer just sit back and watch this happen. This affects our communities. We need to demand action, and it starts with us, right here on this campus. I support Sunrise in their initiative, and I hope that my brothers and my sisters will leave their personal agenda behind and fight with me to be the change, not only for environmental justice or racial justice, but for all social justice, by any means necessary. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming out today and for being courageous enough to push for change that will affect us all. I hope you believe in your ability to make the change because we will only achieve it if we believe we can. My name is Masha Tamreen, and I'm from Bangladesh, a little country in Southeast Asia, home to 160 million people. It's the world's most populated delta. My country, where I lived for 19 years, is sinking a little by little every year due to sea level rise. Bangladesh contributes 0.3% of the carbon emission that results in climate change, and yet is facing some of the biggest consequences of rising sea levels. Researchers predict that at this rate of rising sea levels, Bangladesh will be underwater by the end of this century. To break that down for you, the country I call home, where all my family lives, will disappear from the face of the map in 80 years or less. I'm worried for the people of Bangladesh and for the future generation Bangladeshis who will not have a physical land to call home. About 1.5 million people have already relocated from coastal areas to the cities due to loss of homes. Riverbank erosion in Bangladesh displaces 200,000 people each year. Imagine you live on the bank of a river and you come home one day to find your house gone, a big chunk of land just missing. Unfortunately, this is the reality for hundreds and thousands of people in Bangladesh. Our floods have gotten so severe that during monsoon, the water level in the streets rise up to the waist. Those monsoons will only get worse. I have firsthand witnessed the effects of climate change, and believe me when I tell you, it's terrifying. Climate change is not the future. It is now. Climate change is not politics, it's personal. Almost my entire family still lives in Bangladesh. If we don't push for 100% renewable energy now, there won't be anything left to fight for later. I hope you will join me. Thank you.
It's great to be here and to hear the messaging, and more importantly, to see across the country people awaken into something that is more than just a crisis. It's an emergency. It's urgent. And here we are in Pokanoket, Pocasset, Wampanoag land, and it's important to center ourselves in the reality that the Environmental Studies Department just released a journal in July that stated that indigenous controlled land had the most biodiversity, more so than conservation land. And the study came to the conclusion that it was important to realize that partnerships should be created in sovereignty and support of indigenous control. We're living with 400 years of colonization, and in that 400 years we've seen dramatic changes in this environment, and much of it has been led by corporations and the 1%, but part of that ideology that we have to weed out of our minds is this colonial mindset that sees profit before people, and I think that's something that we have to think about. It's mind over matter. My mind decides what matters, and then my ignorance shatters into a million pieces. Me, I would rather listen to children than preachers. In fact, children are our greatest teachers. Pure innocence in the form of creatures free from the domestication of the rest of the nation. Their mind state is pure, free from the so-called rules that would blur our vision. In fact, culture and law are our prison. They prevent the true you from living in this moment of now. Some think in time, but how? A second does not exist, and ignorance is not bliss, so stop ignoring. Because sleeping is boring, and look, half of these people are snoring. That's why we constantly warring with one another and killing our mother, the earth, the land that fertilized the birth of man from dirt and sand. Life expand like lightning, man. I used to think life was frightening and creepy, but that was when my inner sage was sleepy. Now I sit with shamans in my teepee where my mind is my TV. It lets me see how divine we be. When I read and dream, my mind expand beyond time and land, and I find my mind is grand. It designed my hands so I could grasp reality. Created sexuality just for duality. Death so we could appreciate immortality. You see, life is eternal. A seed, much like a kernel. When you learn it, expand like popcorn and the you and I verse. One word started it all, just think in reverse and see that one thought was there first. I share that piece in honor of the children, in honor of Mother Earth. I think that we have a lot to learn from the children, and also we have a lot to learn from indigenous cultures in terms of how we have to change this society and what our priorities are. Right now, there's a... It's a blessing to see the attention, but also it's important that we center in our perspective on looking at the voices of those folks from Standing Rock that were young people that began to run from the Standing Rock to other communities to tell them about this pipeline issue. And these issues are not just outside of the local area. We live in an area in New Bedford, Massachusetts, where there's some high lead in the communities of color. There's toxic waste from industrial waste. We had the highest level of PCBs on record from the dredging of the harbor, and they recently got a grant to dredge more of that harbor. So they're dredging it so that corporations can bring more big boats into our region so they can make more money. But in the process of doing that, there's no regulations on PCBs in the air. They're only regulated in water and in the soil. So by dredging it up, they've lifted up into the air. We had the highest level on record, and we have children and working class and poor people that are living in that neighborhood that are breathing these toxins in. Additionally, we have a lot of food insecurity in Providence, Rhode Island. Also connect with No LNG PVD. It's an organization that's fighting against environmental racism and classism that's existing in the south end of Providence, where they have over a mile stretch of compressor stations with gas, and they have the highest asthma in New England, and they have chemicals that are not allowed in New Jersey, New York, or Boston that are there, that if there was to be an accident that happened, it would infect far into Fall River. So we have a lot of local issues that are happening, and it's important that we remember this day that we take action long-term. A strike in terminology is to interrupt capitalism because money is the benefit. And as we interrupt, we can't just interrupt it briefly. The walkouts and the sit-in movement didn't happen overnight. So in this striking mentality, we have to strike daily, as other folks have said. But thank you for your time.
What did you call me? Yeah, just so everybody could hear that. There's children here. Oh, yeah. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
My name is Jake Hunsinger, and I'm from a place in Pennsylvania that likely won't exist in the next 50 or so years. There's a song that my dad used to sing to me about this place in Kentucky. It's called Paradise. The mining companies bought up all the land and they flooded the area. And that doesn't exist anymore. Even though that's stopped in recent years, it could start again real soon. I don't like that. When I was a child, my family would travel down to western Kentucky where my parents were born. To this backwoods old town that's often remembered so many times that my memories are warm. And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. Sometimes we travel right down the Green River to the abandoned old prison down by Adria Hill, where the air smelled like snakes and we'd shoot with our pistols, but empty pop bottles was all that we'd kill. Oh, Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. Then the coal company came with the world's largest shovel, and they tortured the timber, then they stripped all the land. Then they dug for their coal till the land was forsaken, then they wrote it all down as the progress of man. Oh, Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. This is my favorite part. When I die, let my ashes flow down the Green River. Let my soul roll on up to the Rochester Dam. I'll be halfway to heaven with paradise waiting, just 5 miles away from wherever I am. And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. There's a lot of places that don't exist anymore because of climate change, because of unregulated mining and destruction of our land. We need to protect it. So, you don't have to write another song about Dartmouth, Mattapoisett, or any place, or Bangladesh, Mashat, your speech moved me, and, it's always easy, to think about here, we're here right now, this is our backyard, but please keep in mind all the other people over the world. It's not just us out here. So, I repurposed a song, and it's for Chancellor Johnson right now. I need Connor to come up here and hold it because I wrote this. Well, okay, I rewrote something, and I need a little help because I have a very bad memory. This is Connor Powers. Yeah. Turn up that brightness for me. Connor is one of the people who's actually like really kept me up to date, who's kept me honest and kept me real about how I believe, like what climate thinks. Especially, well, I'm getting to you, Abigail. And my girlfriend, who is goes to conservation committees for her local town in Mattapoisett all the time. She is so involved in keeping her town clean, and I think we all should do like her and protect our local communities. And yeah, yeah, you threw me off. Yeah, this is for Chancellor Johnson. If you figure out what the words are, you can sing along. Listen to the people, listen to us now. There's dirty water rising, it's flooding the wishing well. So which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? There's poison in the air and a hole cut in the sky. I'm choking on the diesel, man, I don't wanna die. So which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? Come on, man, I know you can hear us. Yes, I love UMass Dartmouth, you know I really do. But I can't love it on the water, so what you gonna do? This side you on, boys? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? I want to hear everybody now. Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? I want to know. Thank you very much. I'm Jay Kunsinger, and thank you to the Sunrise Movement, to Nate, to everybody who's spoken today. Remember your part. Register to vote. Do what you can to keep your community clean, to keep it better. Make sure that we get towards 100% renewable energy. I'm going to shut up now. I love you all.
Hey everyone, before we head out, we want to recognize that tomorrow is an International Day of Peace. We cannot have climate action without peace, and we cannot have peace if we let the climate crisis destroy our world and our countries and where we come from. So, if we could all follow the man in the blue shirt with a giant earth, we're going to make a human peace sign and take a really, really cool picture. I hope you will all join us because these two issues are intrinsically linked. And today is not the end of the movement, it is the beginning. And I hope you will all join us as we demand bold climate action. Thank you.